Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 6, The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 11, 686 Grand Master of Confucianism, Chong Dun. 11th of Volume 7. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. As twilight deepened, the Mengqing garden gradually lit up with rows of green gauze palace lanterns. Peering through the open sandalwood gates, the garden appeared serene and secluded, its formation lights flickering like mist, suffused with spiritual qi, a veritable earthly paradise. Qingshang, a descendant of the Zongsheng sect, personally came to greet the guests upon hearing of their arrival. She had invited the Rice Palace's true disciple to discuss the critical matter of immortal ascension competition. You used to hate the Grand Palace Master more than anyone, Qingshang remarked, yet now you've become her Dao technique successor. When you were the divine son of the twin Rice sect, I still revered the Grand Palace Master above all others and loathed the Rice sect's heretics to the core. See, fate has always kept us apart. By the time we both crossed to the opposite side, we realized we'd already missed each other, merely exchanging places. With that, Zhang Ning and Zhuang Yu stepped out of the carriage. Qingshang possessed a serene grace, like a tranquil orchid. She was already betrothed to Meng Kui, continuing the generations-long Qing-Meng alliance. Legend held that she possessed an extraordinary sensitivity to and deep understanding of the scattered fragments of the earthly tome, her mind sharp and insightful. Her contributions were instrumental in Meng Kui's enlightenment of the 36 chapters of the earthly tome, enabling him to cultivate the heaven and earth freedom realm. Outside the carriage, Qingshang led Zhang Ning into the garden, their close relationship evident in their constant, hushed conversation. Inside, Li Wei paid no attention, completely lost in his inner turmoil. What Zhang Ning said was absolutely true. If fate had truly intended them to meet, it would have orchestrated for Li Wei, the divine son of the twin Rice sect, to encounter Zhang Ning, the true disciple of the Rice Palace, for Li Wei, the Dao technique successor of the Grand Palace Master, to meet Zhang Ning, the disciple of the second Palace Master. Yet the turbulent currents of destiny relentlessly pushed them toward opposing shores. The Luan Bird silver carriage entered the northeast corner of Mengqing Garden and came to a stop in a designated parking area. Mo Duanfeng lifted the carriage curtain and gazed at Li Wei, who sat silently inside, his expression solemn. After a moment's contemplation, he chuckled, "My admiration for you grows every day. Do you realize how many heavens chosen would envy you for sharing a carriage with the Rice Palace's true disciple? She knows we harbor ill intentions, yet she hasn't exposed us. Her devotion to you is truly profound." Li Wei snapped out of his reverie and stepped out of the carriage. The Grand Palace Master will undoubtedly seek revenge against the Lingxiao twin Rice sect and drive out the Rice Palace's forces from the East Sea. We will always stand on opposite sides, every encounter between us is a mistake. Change into this. Li Wei retrieved a Confucian-style defensive spiritual artifact robe and handed it to Mo Duanfeng, quickly changing into his own set. Mo Duanfeng donned the Confucian robe, his chest bulging awkwardly and his arms appearing disproportionately muscular, creating an incongruous appearance. He glanced at the gold orchid patterns embroidered on the cuffs. This is the Yi clan's Confucian robe. Madame Yi was a top-tier holy spiritual king. Her death at the hands of the Mist Heavenly Emperor in Lingxiao City dealt a devastating blow to both the Fu and Yi clans. Even the supreme artifact, the rebirth Zither Qin, was lost in the Lingxiao realm. As the Mist Heavenly Emperor's grand disciple, you'll undoubtedly bear the brunt of their vengeance. Where do you think these robes came from? Li Wei retorted coldly, Yi Kang and Yi Baiyu both fell by my sword. He knew full well that revealing his identity here would unleash a storm of hatred. The two followed a narrow stone path hidden among the foliage, heading toward the brightest lights and the loudest voices. The path grew increasingly crowded. Some gathered in pavilions, engaging in animated discussions, while others studied musical theory or debated passages from the earthly tome, each offering their unique interpretations. No one paid them any attention. The Zongsheng Academy was vast, and its disciples from various sects couldn't possibly recognize every face. The main venue was located on Mirror Lake. At the center of Mirror Lake stood the three-story Waterwood Pavilion, brightly lit. Azure boats glided across the lake's surface, each carrying maids holding food boxes and wine jugs. They moved with the grace of Lingbo Palace maidens, a sight to behold. The Zongsheng Academy truly teems with talent, Li Wei sighed in admiration. The garden is filled with extraordinary experts, each more remarkable than the last. Originally, he had planned to forcefully capture Yi Tian Chen and Uncle Prescription, whom Shen Jian had implicated, and make a grand, arrogant display. But now, even if he and Mo Duanfeng possessed 3 heads and 6 arms, they would struggle to escape Mengqing Garden alive. They needed to devise a strategy. Mo Duanfeng gazed across Mirror Lake, searching for Meng Kui's figure. If the Zongsheng Academy unites, their combined strength might rival the Demon Kingdom. With Meng Kui and Qingshang leading the Immortal Ascension competition, they might actually succeed in consolidating all their forces. Li Wai had long heard of Qingshang's formidable abilities. On their journey here, he had concealed 6 pages of the earthly tome and the great wind, fire, thunder, and lightning formation within the evil camel bell, hoping the supreme artifact would shield them from her perception. The earthly tome held an allure for the disciples of the Zhongsheng Academy that far surpassed any true scripture. Meng Kui, having comprehended merely 36 chapters, was already hailed as a future heavenly emperor, provided he lived to fulfill his potential. Qingshang was rumored to possess the strength to claim a top-tier position on the immortal ranking. The competition for the 30 coveted spots in the top tier was fierce. The top-ranked and second-ranked scholars from various nations, the first-place contenders from 58 mid-sized life realms, and the disciples of heavenly emperors all vied for these positions to maintain their prestige. A series of gasps and exclamations drew Li Wai and Mo Duanfeng into a spacious, corridor-like wooden structure. Along both sides of the corridor, treasures were displayed on tables, each encased in blood crystal artifacts, for the observation of the assembled talents. This was the Mengqing Chamber of Commerce's opportunity to showcase its power and rare goods, seeking potential buyers. All the treasures were protected by profound formations. A 7,000-year-old 7-leaf starry orchid, planted in an immortal soil jade basin, radiated a 7-colored glow. Its internal price within the Zhongsheng Academy was 160 low-grade spiritual crystals, while the external price was 200 low-grade spiritual crystals. A 9,000-year-old dragon saliva ginseng was priced at 7,000 low-grade spiritual crystals, with a note stating it possessed the combat power of a 7th Immortal Realm martial mystic cultivator, having been captured by transcendence in the fallen Immortal Realm. Li Wai gasped at the sight of 6,000 and 7,000-year-old essence herbs, daring only to glance at them. When he saw the 8,000 and 9,000-year-old varieties, his eyes widened, but he didn't dare entertain even a fleeting thought of acquiring them. For every additional 1,000 years of age, the price of an essence herb multiplied several times over. A first-grade 1,000 inscriptions artifact was worth only a single low-grade spiritual crystal, highlighting the exorbitant cost of high-grade millennium essence herbs. Essence herbs aged beyond 5,000 years often possessed formidable power. Any ordinary Immortal Realm martial mystic cultivator who dared to covet them risked becoming fertilizer for the herb itself. Before this, Li Wai had only ever seen one 7,000-year-old millennium essence herb, the heavenly spiritual child. As he continued through the blood crystal artifact display, he encountered a dazzling array of treasures, mid-grade spiritual pills, high-grade spiritual pills, and even immortal bones, immortal marrow, and immortal feathers, all extracted from the remains of ancient immortal giant beasts. Mid-grade spiritual pill, holy psychic star pill, 30 spiritual crystals. High-grade spiritual pill, Holy King Star Pill, 300 spiritual crystals. Only now did Li Wai realize the true value of the Holy Psychic Star Pill. No wonder even colossal entities like the Void Ruins Ancient Clan and the Cave Void Camp could only spare a few for him. It was Duke Taishi who had refined over a dozen pills for him, allowing him to spend lavishly in front of Zhuoqiu Hongting. This underscored the immense value of the pill formula and top-tier holy spiritual kings. Spiritual crystals are invaluable, they can buy anything I desire. I need to find a way to acquire 2 7,000-year-old essence herbs. The Holy King Star Pill might also be worth considering. Li Wai secretly calculated the value of his various gains from the Void Ruins Ancient Kingdom. The headache was that purchasing these rare and priceless treasures would completely drain his resources. Perhaps another trip to the Fate Gambling House was in order. This also highlighted how major powers could indeed cultivate talents like Mo Duanfeng and Tang Wanzhou from the early 4th Immortal Realm to the peak of the mid-4th Immortal Realm within just over a year. With enough money, they could secure the most precious cultivation resources. Sensing a pair of eyes fixed on him, Li Wai immediately looked up. He saw a Confucian-robed elder with a stern expression standing at the end of the corridor. His old robes were faded from countless washings, and his gaze fell sharply on Li Wai and Mo Duanfeng, radiating an air of severe formality. This is Cheng Dun, a great master of Confucianism, revered throughout the world as Master Cheng, and ranked among the top 5 powerhouses of Zhongsheng Academy, Mo Duanfeng whispered telepathically to Li Wai. Li Wai gasped inwardly, finally understanding why Meng Qingyuan dared to be so ostentatious. He and Mo Duanfeng quickly stepped forward to offer respectful greetings. Expecting to be thrown out of Mengqing Garden, they were surprised when Cheng Dun completely ignored them. He merely snorted, flicked his sleeves, and vanished without a trace. They hurried away from the treasure-filled corridor. The two exhaled deeply, then exchanged a look and burst into laughter. I get it now. Li Wai exclaimed, old Master Cheng wouldn't interfere in our generation's conflicts. His appearance was just a warning, to keep things from getting out of hand. Mo Duanfeng straightened his back and snorted coldly, for Senior Cheng to intervene directly would be beneath his dignity. Li Wei, unwilling to join Mo Duanfeng in his reckless defiance, sniffed the air. Let's eat first. I can already smell the savory aroma of transcendent demonic beast meat being cooked. Whoosh. A figure flickered into existence before them, a man dressed in simple robes, his demeanor calm and composed. Pu Yanshou greets the new first scholar and the southern dragon. Master Cheng has sent me to receive you two honored guests. Pu Yanshou carried a square wooden Kang scroll box on his back and wore a gray cloth hat. His manners were impeccable, but after bowing, he stood tall and steady, neither obsequious nor arrogant. Under Pu Yanshou's guidance, the two of them ascended to the third floor of the study pavilion by Mirror Lake. The third floor's halls were lined with dozens of round tables, each laden with steaming dishes, fine wines, and spiritual fruits, yet only a few were occupied. Immortal Realm martial mystic cultivators were either composing poetry, playing musical instruments, or discussing the trends of the Immortal Ascension competition and critiquing the young prodigies of the world. The three of them settled in a small hall. Li Wei sat facing the window, with a clear view of the waterwood pavilion at the lake's center. Mo Duanfeng, who abstained from alcohol, sat with his back ramrod straight, his gaze fixed on Pu Yanshou. Master Cheng sent you to receive us. Brother Pu Yanshou must be no ordinary mortal. I must confess my ignorance, I never imagined the Zhongsheng Academy had someone of your caliber besides Meng Kui and Qingshang. Pu Yanshou leaned his bamboo scroll case against the wall, sat opposite Mo Duanfeng, and smiled warmly. Brother Mo is aware of the long-standing feud between the Pu Yanshou family and the Bai clan of the Sword Dao Imperial Court. Naturally, I chose to conceal my abilities, intending to seize the earthly tome Jade Tome during the Immortal Ascension competition. Mo Duanfeng sighed. The three talents of the Bai clan are in dire situation this time. It's a pity Bai Chuan died in the Void Ruins ancient kingdom, otherwise, you would have had a spectacular clash. Li Wei, unburdened by Mo Duanfeng's dietary restrictions, began eating with gusto, oblivious to the conversation. If Brother Pu Yanshou intends to remain hidden, how can you possibly act? Pu Yanshou replied, who would suspect Pu Yanshou is the one acting? Even if I did, I couldn't stop you too. As I said, tonight I'm here to receive you as honored guests. Is this a case of courtesy first, then force? Mo Duanfeng asked. Pu Yanshou poured a cup of wine for Mo Duanfeng and another for himself. Allow me to drink this first, to apologize in advance for any future discourtesy. After draining his cup in one gulp, Pu Yanshou continued, forgive my bluntness, Brother Mo, but your challenge to Meng Kui tonight is doomed to failure. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6. The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 12 687 Academy Leaders and Meng Kui. 12th of Volume 7. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. Indeed, your words are rather presumptuous. Mo Duanfeng's eyes blazed like torches, but if you can offer even a shred of reason, this Mo will immediately drain this cup. If you're merely spreading baseless alarm and reckless threats, then don't blame this Mo's blade for testing your depth first. Pu Yanshou, sleeves rolled up, gazed at the lake and raised 3 fingers. There are 3 reasons. First, Brother Mo, the 7 severing wind slashes prioritize momentum. Without the resolve to fight to the death, your power will be diminished by at least 30%. At this moment, I sense no such life or death aura within you. A drumbeat of courage fades with each strike. Meng Kui's 5-day refusal to engage has already dulled your edge. Mo Duanfeng narrowed his eyes, reassessing the scholar before him. Second, Meng Kui represents Zhongsheng Academy tonight, the initiator of the 100 schools gathering. He cannot afford to lose, his will be unbreakable, and he will stop at nothing. Brother Mo, are you prepared to pay the same price? Thirdly, environmental influence. Meng Kui has been in Mengqing Garden for half a month, using his heaven and earth freedom realm to harmonize with the terrain. He has established subtle connections with every building and plant, giving him a decisive advantage. Brother Mo, your broad, sweeping blade techniques are ill-suited for combat in this restrictive garden. Heaven, earth, man, and mind, none of these are on your side. How can you possibly avoid defeat? Li Wei hadn't expected Pu Yanshou's verbal attacks to be so sharp, and he inwardly cursed, this is going to be bad. Mo Duanfeng might currently dismiss these words with disdain, his resolve unshaken. But once he clashes with Meng Kui and fails to break through his defenses, Pu Yanshou's words will inevitably resurface in his mind. How could he remain unaffected? According to the Fate Gambling House's assessment, Mo Duanfeng and Meng Kui's strength is evenly matched, with victory hinging on the slightest margin. Was Pu Yanshou trying to force Mo Duanfeng to retreat with mere words? Would Mo Duanfeng drink the wine? If he drank it, it would mean he acknowledged the validity of Pu Yanshou's words, further burdening his mental state. If he refused, Mo Duanfeng would have to make good on his threat and strike Pu Yanshou with his blade. The hall fell into complete silence. By Mirror Lake, a clamor erupted. Senior scholar Meng has arrived. The 40 academy leaders from the top 7 families and middle 33 families are sailing to Waterwood Pavilion. Miss Qing has arrived, accompanied by a Rice Palace's true disciple. Li Wai gazed out the window at the bustling lakeside. There, surrounded by a throng of Zongsheng Academy's immortal realm martial mystic martial cultivators and holy spiritual masters, Meng Kui, the young leader of Zongsheng Academy, stood like the moon surrounded by stars. He walked effortlessly across the lake's surface, heading toward its center. His companions were none other than heaven's chosen and noble ladies of peerless beauty. Listening closely, Li Wai recognized Yi Tianchen and Uncle Chu Feng among the crowd. Mo Duanfeng abruptly stood up, drained the wine from his cup, and declared, "Well said. But my spirit lies in defying Meng Kui, a 4th Immortal Realm peak cultivator, despite being only at the 4th Immortal Realm mid-stage limit. My courage to drink this wine is proof of my unwavering resolve. Thank you for this drink, it will sharpen my blade." With that, he slammed the cup down. Mo Duanfeng's Confucian robes tore apart, his martial mystic qi surging violently. He roared, "Meng Kui. I've been hunting you for 5 days. Dare you face me in battle?" With a whoosh, Mo Duanfeng leapt through the window and landed on the lake's surface in an instant, causing Mirror Lake to explode in a spray of water. Inside the hall, Pu Yansho sighed softly. What a magnificent holy capital's inner court wind-severing blade. With such indomitable spirit, how could it be swayed by external influences? Yet even a slight difference in cultivation stage can mean a tenfold disparity in strength. Does he truly stand a chance? Mo Duanfeng. Meng Kui, who was about to step onto the island at the lake's center, halted abruptly. Together with dozens of academy leaders from Zongsheng Academy, he turned to face the imposing figure standing on the water's surface. Their eyes gleamed with sharp resolve, radiating a presence like a 1,000-strong army. Yi Tianchen, the 4th Immortal Realm expert who had fought alongside Shen Jian outside the Immortal Forest that night and the academy leader of the Yi clan, one of the top 7 families, spoke in a deep voice. Mo Duanfeng, tonight is the Grand 100 Schools gathering of Zongsheng Academy. If you dare disrupt this sacred event, the disciples of the 100 Schools will ensure you enter standing and leave lying down. Mo Duanfeng casually hoisted the metal blade case onto his shoulder and strode forward. Even if all of Zongsheng Academy were to swarm me at once, this Mo would gladly accept the challenge. Yi Tianchen's gaze darkened, and he was about to speak again when Qingshang blocked Mo Duanfeng's path, her beautiful eyes meeting his steadily. Her voice remained calm as she said, I've heard that after executing your 7 severing wind slashes, Mr. Mo, all your spiritual qi is completely drained. Even if Brother Meng were to forgive your offense after the 7th slash, would you still have the strength to leave Mengqing Garden? Mengqing Garden does not accommodate overnight guests. While Mo Duanfeng's 7 severing wind slashes would indeed exhaust his spiritual qi, the final slash was not to be used lightly. However, he wouldn't collapse immediately afterward, his physical body's blood qi would remain intact. Qingshang's deliberate mockery was intended to undermine his prestige and provoke his anger. As her words fell, a thunderous wave of laughter erupted throughout Mengqing Garden, both within and beyond the lake, accompanied by jeering voices. Li Wai channeled his spiritual qi into the laughter, transforming it into a resounding thunderclap that deafened all other sounds. With Li Wai accompanying the number 1 scholar, there's no need for your concern. We came here, and we'll leave as we please. Countless eyes, both within and beyond the lake, turned toward the 3rd floor of the study pavilion, focusing on the young figure seated by the window. The reverberating voice revealed the speaker's formidable power, prompting silent speculation about which Li surname expert had arrived. Ha ha ha. Brother Wai, in my opinion, Meng Kui is all show. 6 slashes are more than enough to deal with him, Mo Duanfeng declared. A commotion erupted in Mengqing Garden. Meng Kui, Mo Duanfeng, and Li Wai were among the most highly anticipated figures on this year's Immortal ranking. Their convergence promised a fierce dragon-tiger struggle. Li Wai, how dare you set foot in Mengqing Garden? The Yi clan will never rest until you're dead. Yi Tianchen roared furiously. A large contingent of Immortal Realm martial mystic cultivators from the Yi, Fu, Meng, and Qing clans surrounded the study pavilion. Some brandished spiritual artifact battle weapons, while others unleashed psychic radiance. The Zongsheng Academy crowd merely found Mo Duanfeng annoying, seeing him as a troublemaker. But the Yi and Fu clans harbor deep-seated hatred for Li Wai. Madame Yi had been killed by the Zhenhai Guanwu, and seeking revenge on Li Wai wasn't entirely misplaced. Hearing the dense, rapid footsteps ascending the staircase, Li Wai remained unfazed. Yi clan members, from young to old, have traveled all the way to the Lingxiao realm and the East Sea to court death. What can I do about that? Yi Tianchen, you ambushed me in the immortal forest of Night Demon City. I've come today specifically to settle that score. Yi Tianchen's heart jolted. Realizing he'd been betrayed by Shen Jian, he cursed inwardly. Meng Kui's gaze turned icy. Qingshang, sensing his thoughts, spoke in a melodious tone, Southern Dragon, your audacity is truly admirable, befitting the Dao technique successor of the Grand Palace Master. As such an upright figure, would you deign to tell us whether Meng Huolong and Fu Wenyan met their end by your hand? Li Huayi interjected, Brother Meng, you are truly enviable. Miss Qing is not only a beautiful strategist but also willingly plays the supporting role, allowing your divine, flawless, and untainted brilliance to shine even brighter. Nearby, Zhuangyu whispered to Zhang Ning, Miss, he's clearly speaking in veiled insults, meant for us to hear. HMPH. Zhang Ning disagreed. Qingshang was Meng Kui's fiancé, while Li Weiyi's fiancé. Qingshang sighed softly, Southern Dragon hasn't denied it, merely evaded the question. The answer is clear. Mo Duanfeng had already advanced within 100 zhang of Waterwood Pavilion. He roared, Meng Kui, stop hiding behind women. Let's settle this tonight, so you won't feel resentful about your future ranking on the immortal ranking. This Meng only knows your cultivation hasn't reached its peak, Meng Kui replied, defeating you now would be an unfair victory. Since you insist on defeat, I shall grant you your wish. Meng Kui's body blurred as he executed a body technique gleaned from a page of the earthly tome, appearing before all the academy leaders in an instant, directly facing Mo Duanfeng. Behind him, the academy leaders swiftly retreated from Mirror Lake. A group led by Yi Tianchen and Uncle Chu Fang flew toward the study pavilion on the lake's edge where Li Huayi stood. Mo Duanfeng's tiger-like eyes narrowed, confirming the heaven and earth freedom realm's reputation. Meng Kui's mere presence transformed him into the center of the world, as if all the laws of heaven and earth revolved around him, leaving no openings, no weaknesses to exploit. Mo Duanfeng roared, his long hair and robes billowing without wind. He raised his metal blade sheath high and charged forward, each step shattering the surface of Mirror Lake into thunderous explosions. Clang! A blade's clang echoed through the night sky. Before most immortal realm martial mystic cultivators in Mengqing Garden could react, the heavenly mandate blade was already in Mo Duanfeng's hand. The sheath, launched like a cannonball, hurtled toward Meng Kui first, aiming to disrupt the heaven and earth freedom realm's domain. Meng Kui's gaze remained fixed on Mo Duanfeng. More precisely, it was fixed on the heavenly mandate blade. Boom! The metal blade case flew within 30 feet of Meng Kui before being repelled by an invisible force. Mo Duanfeng demonstrated his profound cultivation, as if no time had passed at all. The 9,000 scriptures on the heavenly mandate blade instantly materialized, unleashing the spiritual artifact's full power. This was precisely what Li Huayi and Tang Wanzhou, with their comparatively shallow foundations, lacked most. Of course, this deficiency only mattered when facing the most elite opponents. With a single strike, he unleashed the first slash of the 7 severing wind slashes. The first C, located in the lungs, was typically the smallest of the Qi Cs. Yet Mo Duanfeng, through the secret techniques of the 7 severing wind slashes, had expanded it to rival the 5th C in size, surpassing ordinary martial mystic cultivators in the same realm by countless times. Whoosh! As the blade descended, all the spiritual qi from the first C surged into Mo Duanfeng's arm and the heavenly mandate blade. The meridian veins connecting his arm instantly expanded more than tenfold. Meng Kui genuinely didn't want to fight Mo Duanfeng, who was in the mid-4th immortal realm. But when the first slash of the 7 severing wind slashes came crashing down, he instantly abandoned his complacency. He realized this strike was unavoidable, his movements completely locked by his opponent. 2 azure clouds surged from Meng Kui's sleeves. He raised his hands to the heavens and pressed them down to the earth, bracing himself against the blade qi that cleaved the world asunder. Boom! The azure clouds blocked the heavenly mandate blade. Meng Kui stood motionless, the heaven and earth freedom realm transforming Mirror Lake into a vast, jade-green mirror. The blade qi pierced through the clouds. With a sharp crack, the lake surface behind Meng Kui shattered, splitting in 2. This was Li Weiyi's first glimpse of Mo Duanfeng's full power strike after reaching the 4th immortal realm. Such devastating force explained why Xiao Yu of the Holy Hall's life realm had boasted about forcing Mo Duanfeng to unleash the first slash of the 7 severing wind slashes. Li Huayi understood that Mo Duanfeng had resorted to the 7 severing wind slashes to avoid mental fatigue from prolonged combat. He aimed to settle the battle with 7 decisive strikes. Hu Yanshou sighed softly, unable to dissuade either Mo Duanfeng or Li Huayi. He shouldered the Kang scripture case and squeezed through the crowd of immortal realm martial mystic cultivators from Zhongsheng Academy. Li Huayi didn't glance at the hostile crowd behind him. I'm here for Yi Tianchen and Uncle Chu Fang. The rest of you can withdraw. This is my only warning. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel, The Primordial Law. Volume 6, The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 13, 688, One Against a Group. 13th of Volume 7. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. Whoosh. Formation glyphs erupted across the study pavilion's walls, floors, ceiling, stairs, and every surface. The middle 33 families of Xuanhuan Academy were all ancient clan or near-ancient clan entities. All 33 academy leaders were true disciple-level figures from the ancient clan. Those who dared ascend to the third floor were immortal realm powerhouses brimming with confidence in their own strength. One of them clenched his fist, summoning miniature spatial vortices around his fingers. Another leaned against the wall, his 9-colored pupils peering through the window lattice at Li Wei's figure. The academy leader standing at the staircase entrance remained motionless, the surrounding world blurring into nothingness. The assembled powerful figures gathered, each eager to test the southern dragon's mettle. Most remained in the corridors. The 6 who dared to enter the small hall where Li Wei stood were the academy's elite leaders, all at least mid-4th immortal realm cultivators. Backed by transcendent masters, half of them were young heavenly emperors in the Dao Seed realm. These 6 commanded awe throughout Xuanhuan Academy. In an open arena, they could easily overwhelm and kill even an imperial disciple through coordinated attacks. At that moment, only a fraction of the cultivators from Xuanhuan Academy's 100 schools had converged on the study pavilion, yet they had already surrounded it in layers, both inside and out. Over 20 holy spiritual masters stood below the pavilion, spiritual light radiating from their foreheads as they wove runes and formation glyphs to envelop heaven and earth, sealing all escape routes. Li Wei, your arrogance knows no bounds. Yi Tianqian retorted, deliberately omitting any mention of the Night Demon City's attack to stoke righteous indignation among the Academy's experts. What grudge did Meng Huolong and Fu Wenyan ever hold against you? Just to seize the immortal herb, you resorted to such ruthless measures, determined to kill them both. Having clashed with Li Wei before, Yi Tianqian knew firsthand the young man's formidable power. Spiritual qi surged ceaselessly through his body, preparing for battle. The defensive scriptures on his Confucian robes lit up, shimmering like starlight, showing he wasn't underestimating his opponents despite their numerical advantage. Uncle Chu Fang, a peak 3rd immortal realm cultivator and the golden pure immortal physique of the 7th tier pagoda's first level, stood below the pavilion and shouted, he and Mo Duanfeng have clearly come to cause trouble, disrupt the 100 schools gathering, and openly defy all cultivators of Xuanhuan Academy. They must pay a terrible price. Break their limbs, strip them naked, shave their heads, and throw them out of Mengqing Garden. Otherwise, the disciples of Shui Hai's 100 schools will become the laughingstock of the world. The cultivators in Mengqing Garden roared their approval, drowning out the thunderous sounds of battle echoing from Mirror Lake. The crowd below the study pavilion parted to make way for Qingshang. Holding the myriad inscriptions artifact, Pot Heaven Ink C, Qingshang stepped forward to face the 20-odd holy spiritual masters. She gazed up at the 3rd floor window and smiled faintly. Drawing weapons against guests is hardly proper hospitality. Please put away your spiritual artifacts and engage Southern Dragon in a friendly exchange of martial mystic and Dao techniques. Miss Cheng, are you suggesting we tie our own hands? Uncle Chu Fang protested. Qingshang smiled. We'll use our artifacts when Southern Dragon does. Li Wei secretly admired Qingshang's remarkable intelligence. Once spiritual artifact battle weapons were deployed, the slaughter would become uncontrollable. Whether Xuanhuan Academy killed him or he slaughtered a large number of their cultivators, neither outcome aligned with Qingshang's desires. Li Wei shared this sentiment. Although he possessed the myriad inscriptions artifact, the Xuanhuan Academy likely had similar artifacts and could combine their power to unleash even greater destructive force. Moreover, with Grand Master Cheng present in Mengqing Garden, he would never allow Li Wei to unleash a bloody rampage with his sword artifact. Since Miss Qingshang has such benevolent intentions, Li Wei has no objection to playing the scholar for now and sheathing his blade. As soon as the words left his lips, Li Wei abruptly swiveled backward in his seat. Whoosh! Immortal haze radiance and immortal scripture surged from his ancestral field, enveloping his body and solidifying into the Dao transformation divine shadow, a protective aura. The 6 figures behind him were at peak alertness, their essence, spirit, and perception honed to their limits. Their 6 streams of spiritual qi intertwined, none daring to lower their guard against a powerhouse of Li Wei's caliber at close range. As Li Wei moved, the 6 figures moved in unison. Simultaneously, 6 streams of spiritual qi erupted, and 6 distinct Dao techniques were unleashed. The 3 academy leaders executing the capture techniques dispersed like 3 streaks of light, each targeting Li Wei's arms, legs, and neck simultaneously, forcing him to defend on multiple fronts. The 2 strongest among them clenched their fists, which ignited into twin blazing meteors, hurtling straight toward Li Wei's chest. Their fists shifted in midair, tracking the fluctuations in Li Wei's surrounding qi, leaving him no chance to evade. The final member activated a body-shrinking art, transforming into a 3-inch-tall humanoid Taoist light. He leapt across walls and the ceiling before descending like a divine sword. The six had resolved to cripple Li Wei in the first exchange, rendering him incapable of fighting back. The 3/4 Immortal Realm Academy leaders executing the capture techniques struck with fingers as sharp as blades, their combined force piercing through Li Wei's Dao transformation divine shadow. To their shock, they discovered that this divine shadow not only shielded his body but also generated a spatial distortion field. Though their fingers pierced through the barrier and seemed poised to seize Li Wei's arms, legs, and neck, their grasp fell empty. Boom. Li Wei unleashed both palms simultaneously with overwhelming force, sending the 2/4 Immortal Realm Peak Academy leaders who had charged forward with flaming fists flying backward. One flew out the door, the other crashed into the wall. With a whoosh, a 3-inch tall humanoid sword light descended from the sky, narrowly slicing past Li Wei's back before slamming into the ground. The moment it landed, the humanoid sword light sprang back up, aiming for Li Wei's defensive blind spot, the calf of his right leg. Li Wei moved with the clear void cicada chasing step, darting through the air like a wisp of green smoke, denying his attacker any chance to strike. The 6 top academy leaders of Shencang Academy were undoubtedly powerful, but the cramped hall left them no room to maneuver. Their spiritual qi, immortal scriptures, and Dao techniques collided and neutralized each other, rendering them unable to unleash their full potential. Meanwhile, Li Wei's Dao transformation had granted him unparalleled close combat prowess. Instead of fleeing into the corridor, which was swarming with Immortal Ascension Realm experts, Li Wei doubled back into the hall. He unleashed the heaven-turning palm seal, its palm force engulfing the 3 masters who had previously attempted to capture him. You've come to the right time. The 3 masters formed a triangular formation, each unleashing their signature techniques, the Sage's Palm Seal, the Dragon Soul Battle Technique, and the 5 C's 100 Swords Divine Light. Boom. The entire study pavilion shook violently as the hall erupted with surging qi. The 3 combined their efforts to shatter the luminous projection of the heaven-turning palm seal. However, the academy leader who had unleashed the Sage's palm seal clashed directly with Li Wei's palm. A mountain-toppling force crashed down, causing the bones in Li Wei's arm to crack and groan. PFF'd. The 4th Immortal Realm Academy leader spat out a mouthful of blood and plummeted through the window, crashing into the formation light and runes below. The holy spiritual masters below tensed, fearing they might accidentally injure him. They immediately dispersed the formation light and runes, creating an opening. The 4th Immortal Realm Academy leader landed heavily, his arm throbbing with pain. He retreated into the crowd to heal. Upstairs in the hall, the 3-inch tall figure seized the perfect opportunity. Li Wei's full-force palm strike against the 3 of them had left his back completely exposed. With a finger as sharp as a sword, it stabbed toward the central spring at the center of Li Wei's back. There was no escape. Sensing the lethal force approaching from behind, Li Wei's spiritual artifact robes, including the governor's robe, activated their defensive scriptures, bracing against the strike. Boom. The 2 who had unleashed the Dragon Soul Battle Technique in 5 C's 100 Swords Divine Light earlier surged forward like lightning, launching a frontal attack. Li Wei blocked their attacks with his arms. From behind, the 2 strongest fighters, who had been sent flying earlier, returned like twin swallows to their nest. Each unleashed a Sage's Palm Seal, both striking Li Wei simultaneously. His Dao transformation divine shadow shattered like a bubble. He withstood 5 consecutive strikes. Sizzle. Dense, crackling lightning erupted from Li Wei's 9 springs, growing increasingly bright. The entire room filled with thunder and lightning. The 5/4 Immortal Realm Academy leaders grimaced in pain, struggling to endure the onslaught. Li Wei shifted his stance, pivoting his body. The lightning coalesced into Dao swords, spinning and slashing at the 5 fighters, sending them flying. Some landed swiftly, regaining their footing. Others crashed into the walls, collapsing to the ground. Giving Li Wei no time to breathe, 3 more academy leaders charged into the room from the corridor, unleashing their fully charged Dao techniques. Several others conjured spiritual qi chains, extending them along the corridor and into the hall. Li Wei released his spiritual qi, lifting Yi Tianchen and another academy leader who lay collapsed against the wall. He hurled one of them out first. Then, gripping Yi Tianchen's wrist, Li Wei leapt through the window, plunging downward. They had just leapt down. Boom. The Dao techniques unleashed by the 3 great masters shattered the 3rd-floor window, even the defensive formation unable to withstand the attack. A moment's hesitation would have meant severe injury. Anticipating Li Wei's escape through the window, Qingshang handed the Pot Heaven Ink Sea to a 4th-stage holy spiritual master beside her. Giving Li Wei no chance to regain his qi upon landing, she activated her body technique, treading on cloud mist to evade the academy leader who had fallen first, and struck out with a palm strike in midair. As the 2nd most formidable expert in Shencang Academy, surpassed only by Meng Kui, Qingshang far outstripped the other academy leaders in power. Li Wei's left hand tightened its grip on Yi Tianchen's wrist, causing excruciating pain with the slightest movement. His right arm rose, his palm like a cloud, unleashing a massive Buddhist Tao imprint that pressed down on Xingqiang. Boom. Xingqiang braced against Li Wei's palm strike, the Buddhist Tao imprint forcing her back to the ground, the earth cracking beneath her feet. Landing on the ground, Li Wei prepared to press his advantage. Crack. But then, Yi Tianqian twisted his own arm, snapping the bone rather than remain controlled by Li Wei in full view of the crowd. Enduring the pain, Yi Tianqian crouched low and delivered a powerful punch to Li Wei's abdomen. This was precisely what Pu Yanshou had meant when he said that in Mengqing Garden, every member of Zhongsheng Academy was prepared to pay any price to preserve their honor. Elsewhere, such unwavering resolve might have been rare. Li Wei still gripped Yi Tianqian's wrist, his fingers pressing down on the vital pulse point. But Yi Tianqian had already severed his tendons and meridian veins, twisting his arm into a grotesque spiral and breaking it into multiple fragments, all to deliver this unexpected and devastating blow. Li Wei's defensive scriptures flickered incessantly as his ancestral field trembled. He staggered back 2 steps, dispersing most of the martial mystic chi from Yi Tianqian's punch. Well done. The Southern Dragon possesses peerless cultivation, but the men of Zhongsheng Academy have the courage to fight to the death. Xingqiang seized the opportunity to press her attack. The 2 Fourth Immortal Realm Academy leaders who had fallen earlier, having recovered their breath and healed their injuries, now flanked Li Wei, launching a coordinated attack. The holy spiritual masters retreated swiftly, expanding their formation circle and sea of runes, wary of making any rash moves. Li Wei still held Yi Tianqian as a protective talisman. Any misstep could result in Yi Tianqian being crushed by the formation and runes first. The 7 severing wind slashes flowed seamlessly, Mo Duanfeng's blade intent surging relentlessly. His spiritual chi poured forth like a river unleashed. Mo Duanfeng unleashed 3 consecutive slashes, each strike more powerful than the last, his battle prowess escalating with each strike. The 4th sea, his primary energy center, had been cultivated to a size comparable to the wind mansion of a immortal realm martial mystic cultivator at the same stage. Within it, spiritual chi, blade intent, spiritual artifact scriptures, and immortal scriptures intertwined in a harmonious vortex. The 4th slash descended with overwhelming force, its power amplified exponentially. Meng Kui's heaven and earth freedom realm enveloped the entire Mengqing Garden, drawing upon every force within this miniature world. The waters of Mirror Lake transformed into azure ice dragons, while verdant plant essence, earthy brown earth chi, and celestial starlight converged upon him like converging streams. Activating the thumb ring on his hand, his arm transmuted into white jade as he unleashed the earthly tome's body technique, the white jade saint hand. He parried the blade with his palm. Boom. Gold and jade clashed. The myriad energies of heaven and earth surrounding Meng Kui shuddered violently, and for the first time, he was forced to retreat. Meng Kui's heaven and earth freedom realm granted him advantages in body technique speed and Dao technique subtlety, but against Mo Duanfeng, these advantages proved useless. Each slash was inescapable. Barely regaining his footing, Meng Kui found Mo Duanfeng already raising his blade for the 5th slash, his blade intent enveloping him completely. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6. The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 14, 689, The Sage's Robe, All Sages Worship Heaven. 14th of Volume 7. Translator. Shadow Knight AK. Editor. Shadow Knight AK. Earthly Tomes 1000 Character Classic, Azure Cloud 9 Chapters Armor. Azure Cloud Chi erupted from all 9 springs within Xingqiang's body, forming the 9 chapters armor, cultivated from 9 chapters of the earthly tome, to cover her delicate frame. She clashed 9 times with Li Wei, who fought with a single hand. Li Wei used his other arm to shield himself and Yi Tianqian, blocking attacks from 2 Fourth Immortal Realm Academy leaders. Even though the Academy leaders deliberately held back, avoiding direct hits, Yi Tianqian was still covered in wounds, coughing up blood incessantly. Whoosh! Whoosh! Academy leader level experts leapt from the building. Some hovered in midair, while others stood atop the roof, all gathering Dao techniques. One of them roared, Li Wei, you falsely claim to be the Southern Dragon. If you have the guts, release Yi Tianqian and fight us honorably. Alright, 1-on-1. 1-on-2, 1-on-3, I can reluctantly accept that too. Seeing them fall silent, Li Wei grew impatient. He retrieved a cosmic pouch and tossed the heavily wounded Yi Tianqian inside. Slinging the pouch over his shoulder, he shouted to the crowd, be careful with your attacks. If you burst the pouch and Yi Tianqian dies, it won't be my fault. Li Wei spread his arms wide and charged toward Xingqiang. Sizzle. 108 thunder annihilation formations materialized, unleashing dozens of bolts of lightning that coalesced into thunder and lightning swords. The 9 heavens thunder annihilation sword of the ancient thundercloud sect. Xingqiang murmured, her vast knowledge gleaned from countless scrolls. She slid backward, her palm striking out to unleash the 1000 character classic. The 1,000-character classic transformed into rivers of characters, colliding with the incoming lightning swords. Even when stray bolts struck her, the 9 chapters' armor deflected them. With Yi Tianqian secured in the cosmic pouch, the holy spiritual masters activated their formations, piercing through the thunder annihilation formations. Immediately, several academy leader-level experts closed in on Li Wei, launching close-quarters attacks. Boom. Boom. Outnumbered, Li Wei swiftly retreated, fighting as he moved along the lake's edge. With palm strikes and leg sweeps, he sent the Zhongsheng Academy's Immortal Realm martial cultivators flying, but their numbers seemed endless. At any given moment, Li Wei faced at least 4 opponents simultaneously. Meanwhile, others lurked nearby, secretly gathering power to unleash Dao techniques. Once their preparations were complete, they would rotate into the fray. Rumble. 4-colored spiritual light erupted from Li Wei's brow, sending the 5 attackers flying, blood spurting from their mouths and noses. Some crashed to the ground, skidding across the earth like plows. Others plunged into the lake with a splash. Peak of the 4th stage of Holy Spiritual Master, Qingshang murmured, her brow furrowing as she subtly raised her hand in a signal. Behind her, a dozen Holy Spiritual Masters unleashed a storm of runes, a dense swarm surging toward Li Wei. Li Wei darted low to the ground, weaving through the onslaught while simultaneously stowing the 2 critically injured Zhongsheng Academy's Immortal Realm martial cultivators into cosmic pouches, which he then hung in 2 defensive blind spots on his body. Just as he straightened up, Qingshang descended from the sky, unleashing a palm strike that unleashed a 30-meter-wide azure cloud palm force. Within the azure cloud, pages of the earthly tome's text overlapped, rising and falling in layers. 4 top-tier academy leaders, their injuries healed, launched simultaneous attacks from 4 different directions. Before this, 6 Dao techniques had materialized into 6 chains, coiling toward Li Wei. In the distance, Xuanhuan watched Li Wei being besieged by a relentless wave of elite fighters, her breath held tight, her small hands clenched, her gaze darting repeatedly to Zhang Ning beside her. Xuanhuan felt certain that Li Wei would be suppressed and stripped of his clothes at any moment. She was desperately anxious and worried. Zhang Ning turned to look at Xuanhuan's pale face. What are you so worried about? He's merely honing himself, trying to reach his peak state as quickly as possible. That's why he deliberately provoked this conflict. It's actually a good thing. The Zhongsheng Academy may appear to have a wealth of talent, but they're really just a disorganized rabble. Only about a third of their forces have surrounded him, and they don't even seem to have a proper battle formation. They're far inferior to the well-prepared Demon Kingdom. But Xuanhuan saw Li Wei already spitting blood, his body riddled with punches and palm strikes. But what? He hasn't even released his 7 strange insects, which are perfect for dealing with encirclements. Do you think he needs your help to escape? He must overcome this battle on his own if he wants even a sliver of a chance against the Demon Kingdom. Zhang Ning turned her gaze back to the battlefield. Li Wei had already fled halfway around Mirror Lake, blood streaming from all 7 orifices. He was severely injured, constantly weaving through the crowd, his body now carrying 5 cosmic pouches. It was precisely these cosmic pouches that kept the Zhongsheng Academy disciples restrained. Otherwise, Li Wei would have been overwhelmed by Dao techniques and formations long ago. Before him, a sea of figures, fists, and palms surged, instantly shattering his protective Dharma Chi. At the highest scarlet pavilion in Mengqing Garden, Grand Master Cheng stood by the railing, hands clasped behind his back, his cold gaze fixed on the chaotic battle by the lake. He was clearly deeply dissatisfied with the performance of the Zhongsheng Academy's martial mystic cultivators. Beside him, Pu Yanshou, carrying the hidden scroll collection on his back, tallied the casualties with a brush on a pillar. 9 severely wounded and incapacitated, 5 captured, 27 lightly injured, he reported, shall I end this now? If it continues, it'll become too embarrassing. Li Wei hasn't used his 7 strange insects yet. Cheng Dun replied, until the insects are unleashed, neither you nor the others should intervene. After a long silence, Cheng Dun asked, what's your assessment of this battle? Pu Yanshou bowed respectfully before answering Cheng Dun's test. The 100 disciples of Zhongsheng Academy each act independently, driven by petty gains. Some, like Yi Tianqian and Uncle Chu Feng's group, have even secretly joined the Demon Kingdom's faction, hoping the Immortal Ascension competition will serve their ambitions. The students believe that such a trial from the outside world was long overdue. Li Wei is the sword that has struck at their dignity and arrogance, forcing them to acknowledge the might of the younger generation's top experts. Only by keeping Li Wei and Mo Duanfeng in Mengqing Garden can this battle be considered a passing grade. Afterward, the members of Zhongsheng Academy will finally unite, a far more effective outcome than any amount of deliberation. Should those 2 escape, the disciples of the 100 schools will surely feel shame and rise to the occasion, truly rallying around Meng Kui and Qingshang to become a cohesive whole. Cheng Dun nodded slightly, his gaze shifting toward Mirror Lake. The Wind Mansion Emperor's Blade. After unleashing the sixth slash of the 7 severing wind slashes, a towering, dozens of jong tall phantom of an emperor materialized behind Mo Duanfeng. Blade Qi surged forth like an endless torrent. The blade Qi shattered not only Mirror Lake itself but also the layers of defensive formations surrounding its shores, carving a deep, sweeping gash across the ground of Mengqing Garden. Sizzle. Mo Duanfeng's blade cleaved through the combined Qi of heaven and earth and the layers of earthly tome characters. Meng Kui retreated rapidly, landing atop the waterwood pavilion, blood dripping from his hands. The white jade saint hand shattered, reverting to its original color. How is this possible? He actually blocked the Wind Mansion Emperor's blade. Is the defense of the Heaven and Earth Freedom Realm truly so impenetrable? Mo Duanfeng's seventh slash, the Ancestral Field Immortal Blade, was activated by law. Ancestral Field Qi surged back and forth like ocean tides, rising and falling, gathering momentum for the final strike. If this strike failed to cripple Meng Kui, leaving him unable to fight, Mo Duanfeng would be at his mercy. Wait. There's an aura surrounding him, one that doesn't belong to the immortal realm. It's the sage's robe. So that's it, he's wearing the sage's robe. Mo Duanfeng's tiger-like eyes narrowed, finally discerning the truth. He cursed inwardly. With the sage's robe protecting him, Meng Kui was essentially shielded by strands of subtle law power. All sages worship heaven. Standing atop the waterwood pavilion, Meng Kui straightened his robes and chanted loudly. Radiant light erupted from his body, an azure cloud hovered above his head, and a sea of characters spread beneath his feet. He bowed slightly, crossing his hands before him in a reverent gesture. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Sage shadows materialized from the sea of characters and azure cloud, preparing to receive Mo Duanfeng's most powerful strike. To everyone's surprise, Mo Duanfeng forcibly sheathed his blade and charged toward Li Wei, who was being besieged by the lake. He let out a wild laugh. You're formidable, I'll admit. Let's end it here for today. We'll settle this another time. Meng Kui wore the sage's robe. Mo Duanfeng believed that even if his ancestral field immortal blade struck, it would be difficult to inflict a truly crippling blow. Mo Duanfeng wasn't just about offense, he was, in fact, a master of defense. For years, he had never removed his airtight, three-layered armor. After his armor was destroyed in the Void Ruins Ancient Kingdom, he returned to the Holy Capital and was granted the Fire God armor, which offered even greater protection for the Immortal Ascension competition. When challenging Meng Kui, Mo Duanfeng chose not to wear the Fire God armor. He viewed the Immortal ranking as a contest of pure skill, unlike the Immortal Ascension competition, which was a battle for resources. Even if he won using the armor's Fire God's force, he wouldn't earn genuine recognition. Therefore, seeing Meng Kui face him in the sage's robe left Mo Duanfeng somewhat frustrated. There was nothing more to be said. Meng Kui's ability to wear the sage's robe, a rare immortal treasure, was itself a testament to his strength. Moreover, Mo Duanfeng knew that Li Wei had been fleeing around Mirror Lake, refusing to leave, waiting for him. Victory was important, but friendship was more so. Brother Wei, I've lost. Let's go. Mo Duanfeng charged to the shore, unleashing a slash that forced Xingxiang back. Li Wei glanced at Meng Kui, still struggling to reach them from the lake. Buy me a single breath's worth of time. Chu Fengshu's expression twisted as Li Wei's gaze fell on him. He immediately retreated. Still trying to run, Li Wei pursued him with lightning speed. Chu Fengshu, radiating golden light, abruptly turned his massive frame and threw a punch at Li Wei's face. Li Wei ducked under the blow, then struck Chu Fengshu's chest with both palms in a tower-lifting stance. A cracking sound echoed as Chu Fengshu's ribs shattered, his strength draining away. In the next instant, Li Wei slammed him heavily to the ground and delivered a final punch to his head, knocking him unconscious. He then stored him in his cosmic pouch. A dense whistling sound erupted behind them. As Mo Duanfeng joined the battle, the Zhongsheng Academy's Immortal Realm martial mystic cultivators, who had been suppressing their fury, simultaneously unleashed their spiritual artifacts. Mo Duanfeng channeled his spiritual qi into the scarlet waistband. Instantly, the fire god armor materialized inch by inch from the waistband, enveloping his entire body. He transformed into a living torch, blocking all the incoming spiritual artifacts. Boom. Boom. Mo Duanfeng endured dozens of thousand inscriptions artifacts head-on. His blade couldn't deflect them all, and the relentless impact pierced through his armor, forcing him to retreat repeatedly. Blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. He finally understood how Li Wei had managed to withstand such a barrage alone for so long, a truly remarkable feat. Without the fire god armor, the onslaught of dozens of thousand inscriptions artifacts would have reduced him to minced meat. Azure cloud and the sea of characters surged forth from Mirror Lake. Meng Kui, radiating the majestic aura of all sages worship heaven, soared through the air in his sage's robe. Upon seeing the fire god armor on Mo Duanfeng, his expression darkened slightly. He called out loudly, "You haven't lost tonight, but neither you nor Li Wei will escape. All sages worship heaven manifested dozens of sage shadows. Azure cloud enveloped Mengqing garden, its sea of characters and radiant light pressing down on Mo Duanfeng and Li Wei. Suddenly, the sea of characters and radiant light were shattered by immortal haze radiance spiritual chi and four-colored spiritual light flame, which surged back with overwhelming force. Glazed pure flame, the fusion of martial mystic power and psychic power. If you can withstand this Shiyi seal technique, old Mo and I will surrender today. Li Wei formed the Shiyin seal at his chest, slowly rising from the immortal haze radiance and four-colored spiritual light flame like a Buddha descending to earth, surrounded by Buddhist chanting sound. Bathed in blood, his battle intent and unwavering belief in victory soared to their peak, piercing through the azure cloud. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel. Novel. The Primordial Law. Volume 6, The Struggle for Immortal Realm. Chapter 15, 690, A City-Wide Pursuit. 15th of Volume 7. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. The Shiyi seal, also known as the Fearless Seal, or Spiritual Protecting Seal, in Buddhist tradition, was unleashed by Li Wei. With his cultivation at the mid-stage of the third realm of the immortal realm and the peak of the fourth stage of the holy spiritual master realm, the sheer force of his qi and martial mystic qi sent the cultivators of Zongsheng Academy reeling backward in astonishment. The immortal haze radiance and four-colored spiritual light ignited, transforming into glazed pure flame. Empowered by Yu Yaozi's glazed spiritual light flame, Li Wei had mastered the fifth layer of his sixfold samsara burning karma technique. Meng Qi's gaze sharpened instantly. Realizing it was too late to stop Li Wei's technique, he channeled all his spiritual qi and bowed deeply once more. Behind him, the sages, holy shadows followed suit, prostrating themselves toward azure heaven. Strands of azure cloud descended from the sky, while the sea of characters surged upward from the ground. All the power of heaven and earth converged. The cultivators in Mengqing garden held their breath, overwhelmed by the vast gulf between themselves and the peerless prodigies of their generation. They forgot their mission to jointly attack Li Wei and Mo Duanfeng. Whoosh! The seal Li Wei had formed against his chest, resembling the Buddha's gesture, shot forward with a resounding clap. Instantly, all the glazed pure flame transformed into countless streams of fire, converging toward Li Wei's body, arms, and fingers. The flames coalesced into a vast and majestic Buddhist spiritual hand seal, which he unleashed with overwhelming force. The glazed flame Buddha hand possessed boundless power, piercing through the azure cloud and sea of characters. Behind the azure cloud and sea of characters, the void resonated with the voices of countless scholars chanting scriptures. The sages, holy shadows, their power both gentle and unyielding, rose with Meng Qi. As he pointed a finger skyward, all their combined force erupted outward. Boom! The finger force beam and the sages, holy shadows annihilated each other in vast swaths. The Shiyi hand seal shattered into fragments. The remnants of the shattered hand seal struck Meng Qi. With a resounding thud, his body convulsed violently as he was slammed into Mirror Lake. The lake waters parted, revealing a vast expanse of dried, muddy lakebed beneath. Meng Qi's body shot backward, plowing through the mud before crashing heavily against the submerged foundation of the waterwood pavilion at the lake's center. Bang! Countless cracks spider-webbed across the small, island-like landmass at the lake's heart. Seizing this opportunity, Li Wei and Mo Duanfeng immediately activated their body techniques, fleeing toward the northeastern corner of Mengqing Garden, the parking area. You haven't truly lost, Li Wei's vast voice echoed across Mirror Lake, the power of all sages worship heaven has already peaked. The first strike is the strongest, each subsequent strike weakens. Splash. The water waves, split apart by the earlier impact, surged back together, churning ceaselessly. Meng Qi burst from the water, landing on the green-tiled roof of Waterwood Pavilion. Soaked to the bone, blood streaked his face. He silently regulated his breathing, his gaze fixed on the direction Li Wei and Mo Duanfeng had fled. Seeing is believing. That martial mystic psychic fusion secret technique is truly formidable. Even with the sage's robe dissolving most of its power, it still inflicted severe injuries. Qingshang flew over, her eyes filled with concern. I'm fine. Meng Qi insisted, we can't let them escape, or Zongsheng Academy's reputation will be utterly ruined tonight. There are over 20 known martial mystic psychic fusion techniques in the world, Qingshang explained, but Li Wei's sixfold samsara burning karma technique, which he learned from the Lingxiao twin rice sect, seems to perfectly fuse martial mystic Dao and psychic power. Its refinement rivals the best similar techniques among the various sects of southern Yingzhou. Its only weakness is the casting time. Without Mo Duanfeng blocking for him, he might not have had the chance to unleash that move. After revealing Li Wei's technique's weakness to Meng Qi, Qingshang led the group in pursuit toward the northeast. Mo Duanfeng and Li Wei had already prepared for their escape after parking their carriage. Mo Duanfeng formed a finger seal, instantly shattering a talisman buried beneath the wall. The talisman's power transformed into a blinding beam of light that shot skyward. The white wall cracked and crumbled with a series of sharp snaps, collapsing a section 30 to 40 meters long. The formation glyphs embedded within the wall vanished, creating a breach in Mengqing Garden's trapping formation. Without hesitation, the two men surged through the gap in the formation. Behind them, a dense swarm of thousand inscriptions artifacts hurtled relentlessly from the inner side of the wall, targeting the streets and urban areas beyond. Swish. Swish. Over 100 Immortal Realm martial mystic cultivators from Zhongsheng Academy, clad in Confucian robes, moved with the force of 1,000 soldiers, tearing through the air as they pursued their quarry across Xiaoyao capital's wide streets and through the skies. Every pursuer seethed with hatred, their curses and roars filling the air. Rumble. Swords, iron books, jade slips, mohai, law rulers. All manner of powerful spiritual artifacts were launched relentlessly from afar. Some flew over Li Wei and Mo Duanfeng's heads, striking ahead to block their path. These pursuers were at least at the second immortal realm of cultivation, each with a chance to enter the immortal ranking. The commotion in Mengqing Garden had long alerted the Demon Kingdom city guard patrolling the city domain. As Li Wei and Mo Duanfeng dragged the battle into the city, the defensive formations lining the surrounding streets activated, layers of formation light veils rising into the sky. What's going on? Who could have enraged the scholars of Zhongsheng Academy to this extent? Many cultivators watching from the wine shops and pavilions lining the streets were astonished. Judging by their curses, it seems to be the Holy Dynasty's #1 scholar and Lingxiao Southern Dragon. They must have committed some truly heinous act to provoke such wrath. A powerful observer, who had been secretly monitoring the situation, burst into laughter. To fight their way out of Mengqing Garden after such a prolonged battle. Truly worthy of being among the top figures of the 9th generation immortal ascendants. To provoke the pursuit of over 100 immortal realm martial mystic cultivators. Such a spectacle is rarely seen at the ranking competition. Li Wei had already summoned the Purple Heaven Thunder Seal and Golden Cloud Thunder Seal, which hovered above his head, deflecting the endless barrage of spiritual artifacts. He wielded the Yellow Dragon Sword, slashing left and right with practiced ease. His eyes darted around, scanning the surroundings for a way to break through the encirclement and escape. Both he and Mo Duanfeng were drenched in blood, their bodies covered in wounds. Li Wei fared slightly better, thanks to the cosmic pouch hanging from his waist, which made some of the Zhongsheng Academy's martial mystic cultivators wary. As a result, most of the spiritual artifacts were directed at Mo Duanfeng, who was clad in the fire god armor. Damn it! There's no way out ahead. The city defense formation has completely sealed off the street, Mo Duanfeng exclaimed, his face twisting in panic. I'm certain Zhongsheng Academy wouldn't dare kill us, but if they capture us, they'll break our limbs and strip us naked. I'd rather die fighting than endure that humiliation. Your godfather should be nearby, right? Li Wei asked. Mo Duanfeng let out a bitter, almost tearful laugh. Do you think old Master Cheng is a pushover? He won't attack us directly, but he'll definitely stop my godfather from intervening. Qingshang and a dozen academy leader-level experts pursued them relentlessly, activating the myriad inscriptions artifact, the Pot Heaven Ink Sea. From the inky depths surged tens of thousands of scriptures and pitch-black mists, unleashing their primordial power as they surged toward the fleeing pair. The Pot Heaven Ink Sea possessed the unique ability to encompass heaven and earth, making capturing the two fugitives a trivial matter. Li Wei was contemplating whether to release his 7 phoenix-winged moth emperors and activate the Great Wind, Fire, Thunder, and Lightning formation for a desperate stand when a glimmer of hope appeared ahead, a dense forest untouched by the formation's light veil. Without hesitation, they plunged into the forest. Mo Duanfeng said, someone in the Demon Kingdom must be using this opportunity to test your hidden trump cards or exhaust your life-saving techniques. That's why they deliberately sealed off the streets. Exhausting his life-saving techniques would make Li Wei vulnerable to future assassination attempts. The Holy Dynasty's analysis of the Demon Kingdom's situation suggested that Crown Prince Yu Daojun wouldn't want the life-preserving spring to become a coveted treasure in the Immortal Ascension competition. They predicted a possible assassination attempt on Li Wei before the proclamation ceremony. We're saved. Li Wei heard the increasingly loud sound of rushing water echoing through the depths of the forest. Even with all its defensive formations activated, a city like Xiaoyao capital would never flood its streets by sealing off the river, unless it faced imminent destruction. The river ahead stretched over 30 zhang wide, its emerald waters rippling gently as boats and painted barges glided across its surface. Splash! Without hesitation, the two jumped into the river. In the next instant, dozens of spiritual artifacts rained down, shattering the riverbanks into fragments. Meng Kui and Qingshang arrived like twin streaks of light, their figures solidifying side by side on the shore. Behind them, a rustling sound erupted as dozens of Immortal Realm experts materialized in an instant. According to our intelligence, Qingshang said, neither Li Wei nor Mo Duanfeng is proficient in the water evasion technique. We still have a chance to catch them. They're heading upstream. Pursue them. Meng Kui's senses were unmatched among the younger generation. After a brief assessment, he led the Zhongsheng Academy's experts in a water escape technique, continuing the pursuit upstream. The Zhongsheng Academy was home to countless extraordinary individuals, each with unique talents. Some excelled in tracking, others possessed miraculous escape techniques, while still others wielded spiritual artifacts that formed a net as vast as the heavens. Sensing the imminent danger, Li Wei and Mo Duanfeng immediately burst from the water and onto the shore, continuing their desperate flight. On a street wide enough for 10 carriages to travel abreast, Shui Ding retracted his 6 wings and darted forward, hurrying toward Mengqing Garden. He knew that the 100 schools gathering at Zhongsheng Academy was tonight, and Meng Kui would undoubtedly appear, giving him the perfect opportunity to challenge him. Suddenly, the roar of battle erupted ahead, and the defensive formation light veils along the street began to rise. Puzzled, Shui Ding scanned his surroundings. Everyone on the street was rapidly retreating into the defensive formations. 2 Immortal Realm martial mystic cultivators with formidable chi, one encased in fiery armor, the other wreathed in purple gold thunder and lightning, raced toward him. Shui Ding instantly recognized them, his mood brightening. Mo Duanfeng, Li Wei, why the rush? Who's up for a fight? Brother Shui, if you can hold Meng Kui off for a moment, I'll grant you a fair challenge another day, Mo Duanfeng replied. Shui Ding had already sensed the chi of Meng Kui and Qingshang. Normally, finding even one of them was a challenge, but tonight he'd struck gold, encountering them one after another. Did you two mess with Qingshang? Why did they both seem so murderous? Sensing something amiss, he refused to be manipulated. Enough talk. Do you dare or not? Give me a straight answer. Mo Duanfeng demanded. Don't pressure him. Meng Kui is ranked 4th in the Fate Gambling House odds, while he's only 7th. He wouldn't dare. Li Wei stopped walking and flung the 4 people from his 4 cosmic pouches into the air. A river of spiritual chi surged from his palm, enveloping them like arrows and launching them toward Meng Kui and Qingshang, hoping to slow their advance. I see now. You two must have reached Mengqing Garden ahead of me. Fine. I was going to find Meng Kui anyway. You owe me one. Shui Ding's battle-intent soared. His 6 wings unfurled, drawing upon the Wind Fiend's power to condense thousands of Wind Blade Chi projectiles. He unleashed them across the street, hurtling toward Meng Kui and Qingshang. Meng Kui, Shui Ding has come to challenge you. As the distance closed, Shui Ding's pupils constricted, sensing danger. From the canal behind Meng Kui and Qingshang, one Immortal Realm martial mystic cultivator after another emerged from the Zhongsheng Academy, each radiating fierce battle intent and overwhelming killing intent. Blank. End of chapter. Subscribe to the MTL World at Malworld 1 YouTube channel.